Stronger.
Hello and welcome to NewsView. It's a new year here at NewsView, the first NewsView edition of the 2012 for January 20th, 2012, and our top story comes to us today from CBS News, and the Italian cruise captain of the Concordia has sparked outrage among mariners in the area, according to the Associated Press. In Stockholm, seafaring tradition holds that the captain should be the last to leave a sinking ship, but is it realistic to expect skippers, only human after all, to suppress their survival instinct amid the horror of a maritime disaster, says the AP. And they say seamen have expressed almost universal outrage at Captain Francisco Scavedano, who is accused of manslaughter, causing a shipwreck, and abandoning his crippled ship off the Tuscany while passengers were still on board. And I always thought that it was the captain goes down with the ship and women and children got off first, but this was not the case for this disaster. The first victim was identified as Sandor Fear, who was working as an entertainer on the stricken cruise ship. 11 people have been confirmed dead and 21 are still missing at this time as I read this from CBS News and the Associated Press. In other news, the presidential election race for the Republicans is still heating up, and Rick Perry has dropped his bid, closed his campaign, and endorsed Newt Gingrich for president. This according to Jackie Kucinich and Katanma Kamia of USA Today. They say that Texas Governor Rick Perry ended his campaign today, or yesterday now, and endorsed Newt Gingrich as the best conservative to take on President Obama in the fall. Perry's departure 2 days before the South Carolina primary leaves 4 candidates vying for the GOP nomination. Newt is not perfect, but who among us is, quote unquote, said Perry. He also went on to say, quote, "There is forgiveness for those who seek God. I have no question that Newt Gingrich has the heart of a conservative, the ability to rally and captivate a conservative interest," unquote. That by Rick Perry, who has dropped out. Texas Representative Ron Paul, who has a passionate following, also remains in the race, along with Santorum. And Gingrich said he is honored and humbled, quote unquote, by Perry's endorsement. Perry, who was the longest-serving governor in Texas history, said he concluded there was, quote, no viable path for him to win the GOP nomination, and he said he'll return home neither discouraged or disenchanted. And in other news, in Illinois, all Republican presidential candidates might be removed from the Illinois primary ballot, thus depriving voters the ability to vote on them. This from PublicForum.com. ChicagoNow.com. They say that John Bammenbeck, who is the state senate of the 52nd District, said late Friday afternoon that various Republican presidential campaigns filed ballot challenges to all the other Republican candidates for president. Currently, all the candidates face ballot challenges, and according to sources, all Republican candidates have fatal flaws with their paperwork. The challenges, if they are successful, will cause the Republican primary voters who show up March 20th to have no choices listed in the vote for president. Bammenbeck says, quote, Illinois election law is a complex system designed to allow spurious details to be used to remove candidates from the ballot, thus depriving voters the ability to choose the candidate of their choice. He goes on to say, while a certain level of competence should be expected of presidential campaigns to not make sure errors, the voters are in the best position to make the choice, not an elected board of elections, said Bammenbeck. And he also went on to say, what point is the right to vote if voters are deprived the ability to choose? The Republican presidential campaigns have a variety of small errors in their paperwork, it says here, such as not using an Illinois notary, listing a campaign address instead of their personal residence, and listing statewide as their district instead of Illinois, even though the president isn't running in a district, quote unquote. According to case law and the Illinois Election Code, these mistakes are likely fatal to sufficient cause to remove the presidential candidates from the ballot. Bammenbeck, again, quote, says, this is the clearest example yet that Illinois election law is in dire need of urgent reform, and that it is even plausible should be an embarrassment to the people of Illinois who deserve better, unquote, said Bammenbeck. Additionally, President Obama also faces a challenge to his paperwork in Illinois. And John Bammenbeck is a candidate for the Illinois State Senate of the 52nd District. And we'll return with more NewsView after this break. Stay tuned for more news and weather right here on NewsView. Welcome back to NewsView. I'm Michael Badger. The news continues from this time ChicagoTribune.com. The University of Illinois is to get a new rail center. This from the Associated Press. The U.S. Department of Transportation is spending $3.5 million to set up a rail transportation and engineering center at the University of Illinois in Champaign-Urbana. The university said Tuesday in a news release that the NU Rail Center will focus in particular on problems involved in using rail corridors for both high-speed passenger trains and freight trains. Other universities will be involved too. They include the University of Illinois at Chicago, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, the University of Kentucky, and the University of Tennessee, among even others. The University of Illinois professor Christopher P.I. Barkin is going to lead this new center. And in local news in Seattle, not local to us, but the governor has declared a state of emergency as an ice storm has created treacherous conditions. Freezing rain in Seattle has created treacherous conditions, and Governor Chris Gregory declared a state of emergency in Washington yesterday as an ice storm slammed the Puget Sound area, making roads treacherous and leaving an estimated 120,000 customers in King, Pierce, and Snohomish counties without power, a number that climbed through the morning as ice-laden branches and trees hit power lines. And according to the Wall Street Journal, Obama is going to try and help Florida while he is there. And he's pitching a plan for boosting U.S. tourism near Orlando, while the Republican presidential candidates prepare to place ads with an anti-Obama message in the state just ahead of the state's January 31st primary. Today's trip that Obama's on is the latest attempt by the White House and Obama's campaign to steal a share of the spotlight from the Republicans in the midst of their nomination fight, says the Wall Street Journal. The president also will attend a $35,000 $800 per ticket fundraiser at the home of Spike Lee and his two small fundraisers at Daniel, an exclusive Manhattan restaurant, Daniel. Tickets start at $5,000 for the first restaurant fundraiser and $15,000 for the second. And that about does it for our news portion of NewsView. Stay tuned for weather after this break and whatever else we have. Here's your NewsView weather for the weekend. Friday night, January 20th, 2012, sleet with a low of 20 degrees Fahrenheit, or 21 degrees Fahrenheit. Saturday, mostly sunny, high 32 tomorrow. Saturday night, tomorrow night, 25 degrees Fahrenheit. And Sunday, a high of 46 degrees Fahrenheit with mostly cloudy skies. And Sunday night, a low of 32 degrees Fahrenheit under mostly cloudy skies. This has been me, Michael Badger, with your NewsView weather forecast.